Hello there again, lads and ladies. Welcome back to another manga review. And today we are doing the third volume of Konohana Kitan. Now, with the third volume, it's probably not as, I'd say in-depth as the last one, basically. But the interesting thing with this volume is that we learn a little bit more about Okami's past. Okami is the main head household leader in Konohana. We basically kind of look into what she used to do when she was a younger fox, and it kind of like gives like a nice little hint to how Konohana was formed, basically, in a certain sense. So how it all starts out, basically, Yuzu gets lost during an autumn festival. I think it's either autumn or winter. I believe it's winter mainly due to the fact that it has something to do with Christmas. Well, in Western culture, it's kind of tied to it because the things that they do in this world is kind of similar to what goes on in the Western society of Christmas. But I'll get to that in a bit. Yuzu basically gets lost. Before all this, she picks up a scroll in the attic. Okami basically tries to throw some stuff out, and Yuzu picks up this scroll that Okami has. She doesn't remember what it's really used for, or like who wrote it. Basically, she might have wrote it. I'm not really so sure, but she basically lets Yuzu have it once she can figure out how to like open it. Basically, because I think the person who sealed it is the one who can open it, basically, and they decide to go to a festival since it's Yuzu's first festival. The first year of being there at Konohana. They basically take her to the festival to enjoy the sights, the sounds, the fireworks, and the foods, and so on and so forth. It's very lovely, actually. I didn't get a chance to go to one of their festivals in Japan when I was there, but I hear they're very fantastic. It's a shame, really, that because back in the day, in the olden times, they used to do the festivals often. Normally, it would be every day or every week or so. It was a way of giving praise and thanks to the gods and your loved ones, basically. And that comes into play really when it comes to like bowing, basically, because they go into the whole depth of how to properly bow, how to give an offering, the steps to it, because everything is all about discipline in Japan. Japan is probably the most disciplined culture and the most disciplined country I've ever been to, really, when it comes to certain things, down to cleanliness, down to how you carry yourself as a person. Just in Shinto, in definite, really, because I find in most cultures you don't get that type of discipline in most others. Not that most other countries can be disciplined in what they do, really. Like the British SAS, we're probably the best of the best, really, when it comes to military tactics, like from the olden days. Then you've got like the USA's forces when it comes to provisions and military uses and weaponry and so on and so forth. No one can deny America's got some big guns and stuff like that. But then each country has their own uniqueness when it comes to discipline, really, in a way, shape, or form. And I could definitely say that Japan, when it comes to carrying oneself, either it be, out of religious reasons or just for better health, either ways, really, I'd say Japan are definitely up there when it comes to the whole discipline stage. Anyway, sorry, I always tend to go off on a rant half the time. I can only apologise for that. So anyway, Yuzu gets lost trying to find the rest of the group in the crowd, and her hand gets taken by a younger fox, and she takes her through an Inari Shrine. I believe it's an Inari Shrine, yeah. It's those big shrines that you see, they're kind of like archways with like two wooden logs on top of them. I wouldn't say they're logs, but they're kind of like built into it. Those are basically gateways for the gods to travel to and fro all around Japan. You'll see them at nearly every single shrine. The one that they're at is an Inari Shrine, which is based around foxes. Basically, these Inari Shrines were used mainly for gates to get from to and fro around Japan. And the Inari gods themselves, they're not technically gods, they were helpers of gods. They were like right-hand men and women of gods, basically. They would always like assist them. Compared to like, say, a servant or someone who basically, did odd jobs for them, these guys literally gave out, orders, faiths, and so on and so forth to followers of like Inari shrines and so on and so forth. As I've said, this one is about foxes, and most other shrines around will have different statues. Like you'll sometimes have a rooster, you'll have an ox. Sometimes you'll have different creatures, or sometimes even gods themselves, basically. I think I saw one that was based on. I might be getting it wrong. I think it might be Taname no Mai or something like that. Because there are some cultures in Japan that believe that Taname no Mai was no more than a woman that was mistaken to be, a trickster fox goddess, basically. It was kind of like what England had during the early days of the 10th or 9th century, I would have thought, with the witch trials and stuff like that. Although America had something similar to that when it came to it, but Britain was well known for, unfortunately, taking the lives of quite a few young women for certain things. Like sometimes it could be just like having a mole on the back, or something like that, or they knew like a different language basically that they never heard of before. I think the way they tested witchcraft is if, but this is one of the ways really, if they dunk them and they like hold them under the water for 5 minutes. If they survive, then they're a witch. If they don't, then they're dead. So it didn't really make a difference. They died anyway, unfortunately. And then they take a pinprick. They would stab a mole on their back or wherever the mole was, and it was said that if it didn't bleed, they were a witch or something like that. Although it's just dead skin, so you pricking that's not going to do much. They'd be lucky to bleed, really, if the needle went deep enough to actually pierce the epidermis or anywhere like that, really. So it's just really horrible, really, that practices like that were even allowed to go through, really. But, different times, different measures and stuff like that. It's unfortunate, really, to hear. Sorry, I keep getting sidetracked. It's just I get on a subject and I like to go on about it. Sorry, guys. Anyway, with the rest of the story, this young girl basically pulls Yuzu into the realm of the gods, basically. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a realm of the gods. It's basically like an alternate universe, kind of like on a different realm of existence of where you'd believe Santa Claus would be, basically. And I say Santa Claus because they technically work in this area to give wishes to those who wish for others' health, kindness, and so on and so forth. Sometimes they hear prayers at these shrines that are quite malicious. They tend to ignore those. And there was one woman in the back of the group saying something like, if you don't hear someone bow 2 times, clap twice, bow and then clap again, and then give an offering, don't listen to it, And then they cut to this little boy who not doing the bow quite correctly, but he gives this wish of wanting to get his mum's he wants his mum's cough to go away. He wants to heal his mum, basically. And you just look at their faces. So cough elixirs on the top left shelf. And but he didn't bow twice, so we're gonna let him have the cough elixir. And she just screams at them don't patronize me. Anyway, with the next section of it, it's basically them kind of tantalizing the idea that Yuzu is stuck there and she has to work for them for God knows how many millennia and stuff like that. And the only way for her to get back is if someone wishes for her return, basically. And this does sort of happen when Satsuki kind of wishes for Yuzu to come back before she misses the fireworks. There's actually a funny scene where she's actually falling out of the sky onto Satsuki. Literally just falls straight on her, and everyone's just you're back, fantastic. They don't question where the hell she came from or anything. And even Satsuki's you keep surprising me. Where the hell do you come from all the time? And before I cut to the next story, sorry to rush this one. I know I've been talking an awful lot, and it's my job, but as you do. In the universe of I'll just call it the Inari universe. In the Inari universe, basically, there was this goddess that came of the Inari Shrine, and kind of ditzy, didn't know what she was doing, basically, here and there. She was more interested of trying to find a place of relaxation due to the fact that she's working all the time as a goddess, giving out wishes, so on and so forth, to around people of Japan. So they try to talk to Yuzu, and she kind of talked about Konohana and the people she's met there, and all the bonds and friendships she's made along the way, basically, and how desperately she wants to get back to see everyone. And the goddess is there just thinking, hot spring that can cater to the gods, good idea, we might make that. Might start digging a hole. Well, not me, my lackeys will start digging the hole. So it kind of is hinted, like in a later scene when Okami basically, when they go home and they see Okami at the door, they basically say hello to her and, you know, they say, we're home. And she kind of like gets like this, Okami gets like this odd feeling of deja vu, like she's seen something specific about Yuzu. She's wearing a hood which was given to her by Ren from the attic that they were in with, that Yuzu was with Okami in to clear some stuff out in the attic. And the hood, I believed, was used that night, I think, on the day she met Okami, like back in the day, because, yeah, it's shown in the scroll when she opens it later on. Or it's more, she doesn't open it, it's kind of like, hinted at that she basically wrote in the scroll that I think she was either writing in that, you know, that Yuzu would make it home someday, because I think she said something along the lines of that fox is going to get lost again one day, let's help her along the way. So she kind of like writes in a wish scroll, you know, to help her get home basically. So it's kind of like, you know, a Back to the Future moment where Christopher is like, Christopher Lloyd, sorry, who plays Doc. I like to call him by his name. Brilliant actor, by the way, brilliant actor. He's basically explaining kind of like how interdimensional rifts work, basically. Like how something in one universe you did caused it to skew off into a new universe. And it's something you did that made it go off into this universe, basically. It's kind of like in one of those situations where, you know, each universe is basically existing on two planes, but connected in one way, shape, or form. So if one person were to meet another in another universe, then that universe could either skew off in either directions, or it can carry on its same plane without it ever changing, depending on whether or not you've done something different. Though thankfully, nothing too drastic has changed, apart from the fact that Yuzu was wished back to her universe. I don't think anything like that can, you know, like muck up anything in the current day presence of time or anything like that. Although it's kind of a good thing that interdimensional planes have been added into this book, because really anything is possible then. When you add, it's very odd, when you add interdimensional rifts and interdimensional theories into things, you can literally have endless universes. But that's the thing with fictional books, really, is that you can have multiple scenarios, basically, which is a good thing. Anyway, I've talked on for about 10 minutes about dimensions and, you know, like random bull, so I can only apologise. I just go off on a skew sometimes. Sorry about that, lads and ladies. This is what she looked like when she was younger. This is her when she was quite young. Pretty cute, pretty cute. Kind of similar to Yuzu a little bit. It's just the hair's shorter, and she has red hair, by the way, kind of orangish red hair. And I'm trying to find a picture of Okami. That's Okami. That's her. If you're asking like why is like one human with like ears, it's a makeup thing basically. She looks very different with makeup. And I think I can actually find a picture of her when she did have makeup on. Hang on, I'm just trying to find it. Ah, there it is. That was her prior to no makeup. This is her with makeup. So a slight difference, really. I do prefer this one compared to that one because she's wearing lipstick. I don't know. I'm not too fond of makeup on a woman, really. It depends. I feel like if it's just like a dabble, it's fine. It's kind of like me, really, with my beard oil, really, because I haven't like put it in today. So if you've noticed, it's very sparse, very rough, basically. The mustache, thankfully, I don't even need mustache wax. Surprisingly, like if I had the wax, my mustache would be sharp enough to cut through a wall. That's how very sharp it could look, really. But no, I prefer not to use mustache wax because it kind of like hurts my lips because it pulls on my lips when I twist them too much. I do need to go put some oil in my beard when I get the chance though, because it is looking very roughish basically. So I'll probably do that afterwards, I don't know. I might probably go over the field really to practice a couple of rugby kicks. The autumn nationals are up this month as well, so I'll definitely be looking into those games. I'm really hoping England can like push up a gear this year because you know, with our final defeat against the Springboks, it was kind of heartbreaking. We were really set to win that final, really, but you know, good job to the Springboks, really, with Khaleesi, their captain, being the first black captain to bring the Springboks to a final. It was about time, really. You know, some change has to be made, really. And Khaleesi's a brilliant captain, and he's a very honourable bloke. He's a very good gentleman as well. Lovely guy. I'd love to meet him one day, actually, when I get the chance. But yeah, with the Autumn Nationals, I feel like we are probably not going to be the favourites this year due to the fact that Eddie Jones is still kind of huffing and puffing around his favourite team, the Saracens. But you know, I'm not going to get into politics or rugby, basically. We're here for a book review, and I will try and finish that for you. I've only got time for one more story. I'm not going to tell you all the stories usual, because you guys know you got to go read these for yourselves to enjoy it. I told you the main one about the Inari Shrines. That's the most important one, really. I'll leave the one about Ren and Natsumi for you guys to read, because that's kind of interesting about their relationship, really. I'll tell you the one about Okiku, the doll. She meets another doll, which is quite cracked, very worn, so it's obvious that she's been played with as a child, you know, well, not a child, like a child's played with the doll, basically. So, you know, she's kind of lived her purpose as a doll to bring happiness to the child that, you know, had her in her time, in her lifetime, basically. And she's kind of melancholy, she's very down, you know, she's upset, of course, that, you know, the young girl that used to play with her has now moved on to, you know, other things like boys and or girls, basically, and you know, just relationships in general, and how other things happen in life, basically, how it can change a child into an adult, basically, you know. And it kind of goes into a very interesting dialogue with her, where she's trying to explain to the doll of Konohana Kitan that the doll from Konohana Kitan hates humans due to the fact that they neglected her or never played with her or anything like that, which is why she still looks quite pristine, sorry. Her porcelain's quite bright, the makeup on her face and her eyes are quite bright, you know, because, you know, she hasn't had years of, you know, being held or being carried or being, like, brought around all over the place, which is why this young doll is cracked, in a certain sense. It's basically out of care from the child that, you know, that she was loved, that she was played with, she was, you know, taken around everywhere, so obviously the child loved her. And the doll basically explains to her that, you know, it's kind of a nice thing to look like this, really, you know, to look so pale, to look so cracked, because, you know, you're there for the young girl growing up into a woman. Basically, every child has something in their life when they're young, either it be an imaginary friend, a friend, or, you know, a toy that basically helps them transverse into the adult world and prepares them basically for the ups and downs of it, really. So, yeah, it's like there's no shame in, like, older women and all that still having teddies, because I've dated a few women that have still had teddies, which is understandable, you know, some of them have the odd thing when it comes to it, but it's kind of nice to see that sometimes, because it's like they're still holding on to a bit of their childhood, really. They're holding on to that memory of happiness that they had, really, so it's nice to see that. And you do see a scene where she finds the doll in a dumpster, the woman who held the doll as a child, basically. She explains that her mother is quite forgetful and she might have accidentally thrown the doll out without realising it. So she's quite thankful to find the doll. She picks up the doll, puts it towards her chest, and, you know, the doll's, like, happy, basically. She's basically left Konohana to go back into the doll form to, you know, still look out for her human, which is quite lovely, really. It's the same thing with, like, hardships and obstacles in life, really, you know. There are some things that you need to get over, there are some things you need to help you get over those things. For me, obstacles really are the challenge, really. I feel like the one thing that I know that I'm certain of about myself is that my determination has helped me with obstacles in life, really. I feel like it's all thanks to my determination to carry on and, well, not carry on like as in like living or anything like that. I'm not like depressed. I mean, of course, we all have our sad days, really, but there have also been times when, you know, we just tend to like look at life and think, you know, life, the meaning of it, like, is there a point to it, you know, so on and so forth. These are all questions that we all ask ourselves, and those basically are, in my opinion, the obstacles that we have to get over in life to improve, become better, and live fulfilling lives with the people around us or with ourselves, basically. And really, you shouldn't really give a damn what people think of you and how you live your life or how you carry your life, because it is your life to carry for yourself. So yeah, all of that from a little manga from Japan. All of that from a little manga. Because it's a story. It's a slice of life in my in my idea, really. Every single book has a nice piece of a story from each person, and each person has their own story to give, either through a book or through a story about themselves, really. So it's lovely, really, to pick something like that up, really, to kind of help you. If you read a story and it reminds you a little bit of yourself or your life story or someone in general to you, then you know that you've done good by the book, really, you know, because you've kind of just like shared your story with someone else, and then in turn they also get to reminisce about their life and their story, basically. So it's good. It's really lovely. So anyway, sorry if I rambled a little bit in this video. I tend to do that. I can only apologise. But yes, with the third volume of Konohana Kitan done, that's my quota for Konohana Kitan for now. My next review will probably be Komi-san Can't Communicate, or Komi Can't Communicate, Volume 6, I believe. So that'll be maybe within a couple of days' time or so, maybe a couple of days' time, because I still need to make it up to 14. I've got the 14th volume coming sometime on the 1st, and I'll be leaving soon to Oxford, so you probably won't hear from me for like another week or so, although I won't be going until like the 22nd of November, so there's a lot of time until then. So I hopefully could get through all of the books if I'm in, you know, that much of a rush. Or I could save some until I come back. I don't know. Well, I'll have to decide really with that. But yeah, it'd be a nice chance to get away and have a nice relaxing break, really. So anyway, with that, lads and ladies, thank you ever so much for reading another one of my reviews. Reading, watching, you know, something like that, or listening if you're blind and all that. Probably not, you know. I honestly can't even imagine being blind. That would probably be the worst thing I can ever imagine, really. Just not being able to see all the beautiful colours in the world, all of the sights, all of the people, really. I have to give it to people who are blind, really, due to the fact that, you know, they can like navigate the world in pure blackness. It is just absolutely horrifying to me, and those people just really, really are amazing to me. I actually know a friend of mine who's blind, and she's quite a cynic about it, you know. She's like, yeah, I know it sucks, but what can you do? You've got to play the hand that's dealt to you, really. So yeah, I feel like that would definitely test me as an individual if I was blind. So I can only give her like my utmost like praise, really, for living the best life she can give, really, you know. And if you're watching this, dear, I hope you're having a wonderful time, and you know, I hope you've enjoyed the review, basically, because she listens from time to time. You know, she doesn't comment because, you know, she doesn't have a braille thing for the thing, so she's trying to see if she can get that. But although I think if she wanted to comment, she could have just had a friend to like write out for her. But you know, it's no big deal. Anyway, thank you all ever so much for watching. Again, rambling as always. I gotta stop rambling. I ramble when I'm nervous. Okay, I talk when I'm nervous. All right. Thank you ever so much for watching, lads and ladies. If you all enjoyed this book, please pick it up. It's a very good story. I definitely will try and finish off the rest of this book. Hopefully we have about 6 or 7 more to go. I want to see if I can try and get volume 10 as well, because I want to try and finish off this series. It's a very good series. Alright, thank you all, lads and ladies, for the last time, and have a beautiful, wonderful, fantastic day. Take care, my friends.